All right, what's going on, everybody? Let's just give it a minute here. I'm going to let everybody jump in, and then we have got some important stuff to discuss today. I think you all know that. So, are we working on all the different platforms? Have you checked yet? Okay, give me a second, guys. It's a good time right now, by the way. If you're watching this, go ahead and share this. Get people on here. This is the stuff we're going to talk about. There are probably, if you're in this industry at all, you are probably going to want to be a part of this and just kind of see what's going on. So as we always say, guys, comment below. Let me know you're in here. Let me know where you're coming in from. It's always cool to see that. And then share this with your people. Share this on whatever platform you're watching it on. Text your friends and colleagues, your managers, your brokers, whatever. Like, get them over here, because this is something that we are going to want to be paying attention to. We're going to get started in 1 minute here. And we shouldn't go like forever today. This isn't a training, so to say. But it is important, our industry, this is a big deal what's happening right now. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that and what it means. And then I'm going to let you guys kind of ask questions, okay? So we'll get in 1 minute here. Oh, nice. We went over there as well, huh? Very good, very good. Okay. Well, then I don't need this over here, so I'll pull this back. Okay. Give it 1 more minute, guys. We're going to get going here. Thanks for coming in, guys. I'm looking at you. I'm seeing where you're coming in from. Very cool. Oh, we actually got a good number of people on Instagram that are following along right now. So, very cool, guys. We'll get started in 1 minute. All right, one last time, because we're about to start here, guys. Do me a favor, comment. I'm watching right now. I'm watching you guys comment. So good seeing so many of you as you're coming in. Keep those comments coming, and also just go ahead and share this, guys. This is important today as far as what happened in our industry. So share this, text your colleagues, get them on here. We want to get this out to as many people as we can. Could we just shut that, man? I'm actually, I don't want to take any chances of that happening. So many of you know, first off, I think, I'm curious in the comments here, how many of you are aware of what the news that came out today? Like, are any of you aware of that? Like, what happened? And it didn't technically happen yet. It's not a done deal, okay? But Compass basically is saying that they're purchasing anywhere, and we're going to go through the details of that. Some of the stuff we're going to cover is boring, but we're going to talk about what it means, okay? Because that's what's really important. As pros, we need to understand our industry. And we've got people on here who are from Compass. We've got people on here who are not from Compass. We've got people on here who are from anywhere and not from anywhere. And so I'm going to cover it from every different angle. I think one of the reasons that you guys, I hope one of the reasons that you follow me and that you listen to our podcast and come to our events and everything is because I tend to be very fair. I'm not a tribal person. And so I think that's going to be, what I'm going to try to lead with today as well. We're going to do this podcast style, so this will actually be recorded, and we're going to put it on our podcast in the very near future. Tom is going to do his best. Let's keep in mind, guys, we're coming straight off of the advance right now. Today was supposed to be a day off. My voice is shot. So if my voice cracks, I'm going to promise you I'm not going through puberty, okay? Like, I am past that stage, but it is very possible that is going to happen today. Because if I hit an octave, it's done, okay? So one last time, guys, comment in there. I'm going to ask you questions. Stay engaged when I ask you the questions. I want to see the feedback from you guys. And then share this right now, guys. This is an important day in our industry right now, okay? One more thing before we get going here. I did a session at the Advance where I talked about AI, and I did it in 40 minutes. And for those of you in our academy, we are actually going to be doing a 4 to 6 part series on just AI and mastering that in real estate. We're starting that next week. But for any of you that want to learn more about AI, we've decided, because I'm insane, straight off of the Advance, that I'm doing a training this Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern, I believe. This Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Friday the 26th. where I'm going to teach on AI. So we'll have more going out about that, but mark your calendars now if you're on here right now. Tell your office, tell your whatever. Whether you're in our academy or not, this Friday's training is going to be extremely helpful for you. We just taught this session at the advance, and so we're going to kind of give you that because it's absolutely important, okay? So mark your calendars, Friday, September 26th, this Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to do just like you're doing right now when you're watching live stream. We are going to do a training on that, okay? Now, I told you guys the last year, if you've been paying attention, I've been telling you, and I've been calling this next year to 2 years, I've been calling it the year of the M&A, right? I did a whole podcast where I talked about that. You remember that? And I was talking about mergers and acquisitions. And if you thought I was crazy, here you go. I know a lot of you woke up to this news today and you were like, what? Now, look, guys, I had heard about this. And then this morning I woke up to text messages really early on saying it's happening. And I'm like, no chance. No, really? Like it's going to happen? And, Compass buying Anywhere. And Anywhere, just for those of you that aren't aware, I mean, that is Century 21, that's Coldwell Banker, that's ERA, that's Better Homes and Gardens, that's Corcoran, that's Sotheby's, that's Cardis when it comes to relocation. That's a lot of different places. They are the largest real estate company in our industry. And they are now being purchased by Compass, meaning they're going to become one entity. And so that is humongous, and we're going to talk a little bit about why that matters, but that is absolutely humongous. And, when I talked about the year of mergers and acquisitions, M&As, like you're going to see this coming, it's not over. There's more coming, okay? So just understand that. And by the way, I just want to get this out of the way. I see all of you in there who were at the advance, and you were like, I love the advance, whatever. Thank you. Appreciate that. I do see it. I just want to make sure that I acknowledge it because I do see it getting posted there, okay? Now, just like M&As and mergers and acquisitions are not done, this sale is not done, okay? I'm going to go over the details. I actually have access to the slide deck that was used with the people who actually fund these kinds of things and make these decisions. And I'm not allowed to say where they came from, but I'm going to actually show you like what they're actually telling people as far as why they did the acquisition, okay? And so we'll go through all of that as well, so you guys do that. I will say this. I want to just start off by saying, before we really get into this right now, that as an industry, we need to stop being tribal. I kind of said this at the advance, and I started off in the opening. And I talked about how, we live in a world right now where a man is assassinated in front of his, wife and kids. And instead of, doing what any human would do and being like, that's terrible, you just hear excuses and people pointing towards, school shootings and and it's like, yeah, it's all terrible. Yes, it's all terrible. Like, yes. And we are in a place right now where it's like everybody's picking sides on everything. And unfortunately, it has pervaded into our industry, where, we're like cavemen and cavewomen, bad, good, this one good, this one bad. And you've noticed that in our industry. It's like, those ones are bad, these ones are good, and it's just like, guys, come on, stop it. We're in it. Like, people ask me when I talk about the different brands and I say that I'm, brand agnostic, like, I'm for you. I'm for the brokers and agents. I am for I don't care what company you work at. I don't care whatever. I'm for you guys, and I refuse to be tribal. I refuse to be controlled by people because they hold speaking engagements over your head, or we'll work with you and pay you big contracts if you say good things, and if you don't, we're pulling it away. Like, screw that. I am not doing that. I will not do that, okay? And so we as an industry need to get better, okay? We need to stop this tribal bull crap and just figure out what's best for the industry, and be okay with people trying different things, and be okay with people saying things we don't agree with, and be okay with, I said at the opening at the advance, I said, hey, just because something's right doesn't mean it's right for you. And just because something's right for you doesn't mean it's right. Okay? And not all change is good, not all change is bad, but all change is opportunity. Okay? All change is opportunity if you understand the opportunity. And I have had a lot of conversations just this morning from about 5 o'clock in the morning on, so much for the day off, where I've been talking to major brokers and agents from the brands within Compass, the brands within Anywhere and outside. I've talked to CEOs, and again, I'm not going to mention any names. That's part of why people are okay telling me things. And I got to tell you, their reaction, like for example, some of the leaders and such within Anywhere, are excited by this, which I think a lot of you would kind of find surprising. And they are excited about it. Like the idea of something new and being backed by something, and having access to certain tech is exciting them. And then I have other people who are kind of like, I don't know. And when I say, look, not all change is good, not all change is bad, but all change is opportunity. Look at the response so far. So far we've had a situation where you have people who are within Anywhere, which again is Century 21, Coldwell Banker, Better Homes and Gardens, ERA, Corcoran, Sotheby's, like all these different places. And you've had people within those organizations who are like, this is a major recruiting opportunity. We're about to get a refresh. We're about to, combine technologies. We're about to, and then you at the same time have people outside of those companies, outside of Anywhere going, this is a major recruiting opportunity. We're going to pull those people away from there. They're not going to be with Big Bad Compass. They're not going to want to be with them. And so you have people during the exact same situation who are having completely different responses, and it just goes to show you, not all change is good, not all change is bad, but all change is opportunity. It's just a matter of what perspective you come from and how you look at it. And there is opportunity in every bit of change if you look at it from the right perspective, okay? Now, let's understand that this situation, a lot of people are like, well, why would Anywhere sell? Why would they do that? Just so you know from the people within the industry, we knew it was going to happen eventually because they were riddled in debt. And so there's only a couple ways you can go with that. If you can't refinance it or you can't get more funding, then you have to sell or go bankrupt or, do whatever you're going to do. But it's really controlled. If you really want to know who controls things, it's controlled by, the person who gives out the debt. Like they are mainly, their debt mainly comes from a place called Apollo. And when that happens, that means that place is going to be calling the shots. Brokers and team leaders, first off, thank you for watching the podcast. I want to really quickly let you know about a new company that you're going to hear me talk about a lot, which is StackWrap. If you are a broker or you are a team leader, this is an absolute must for your business. If you have agents on your team in your brokerage, you know what it's like to pay for a bunch of technologies, to pay for a bunch of things that will help them, but they just don't adopt. And let's face it, one of the things in today's world is that there are so many cool tools and technologies and things that are there to help us, but we also have a million different bookmarks and a million different sign-ins, and we don't know if anybody's using anything, but the real win is in the adoption. StackWrap, similar to how you've heard me say to agents lately, how we've got to get our consumers into our ecosystem, StackWrap does just that for your agents. It takes one place where all of those things they have in their bookmarks, all of the forms, all of the Jared James Academy, all of their CRM stuff, everything, puts it in one spot, single sign-on, and gives you the ability to see what they're going to. It has a heat map, lets you see what they're using, what they're not, gives you the ability to send them notifications, gives you the ability to have announcements, and all of these things all in one place like a cohesive team, which is what you ultimately want. So if you're a team leader or a broker, make sure head on over to stackwrap.com, STACKWRAP.com. And like I said, I can't recommend it enough, guys. This is one that you absolutely need. It's affordable, and more importantly, it's going to get the results for you and your team or your brokerage that you want. So stackwrap.com. Let's get back to the episode. And depending on how you look at this, fortunately or unfortunately, you have that group who's basically saying that, hey, we have more faith in what we see Compass doing for the future than what we see, these brands doing for the future. And I'm not giving my opinion. I'm just telling you that's how they kind of look at things, okay? And so understand that is part of where this all comes from, okay? It's not my job to tell you how to feel. I really just want to help you kind of understand, okay? But this is real, I know that, there was that whole thing with Berkshire Hathaway a few months ago, and they're like, it wasn't real. Guys, it was 100% real. I know it was real. Like, I know that. And so, people got fired because they leaked it, but that's why this came out so quick. It's because they learned from that. They didn't want another opportunity for someone to leak and make the deal fall apart. And so that happened. Now, what happens in the future, I still think that Berkshire Hathaway is on the table for the future, but who knows? Again, we are in a time of mergers and acquisitions right now. We are in a world right now where we have major companies like Rocket and Redfin and all these places putting, Zillow super app and whatever, putting billions and billions of dollars into our industry with the idea of disrupting it and building end-to-end, super apps. And so you're going to see consolidation in our industry because people have to get bigger in order to compete. Like that is absolutely what's going to happen, okay? And so let me just kind of get into a little bit about why they did this. This is a little bit of the boring stuff, but then I'm going to talk about what it means, okay? And again, I'm using a slide deck that I can't say where it came from or anything like that. That's why people trust me to see certain things. But it was the deck that was used ultimately to make the decision for the purchase to happen. And so you know that what they're putting is absolutely true, okay? So as far as the details of the transaction value was $4.2 billion, which represented about a 21% premium to enterprise value and a combined enterprise value of just less than or just around $10 billion, okay? It's an all-stock transaction, so not cash, it's all stock. It's an exchange ratio of 143, which is equal to 1301 per share. As far as anywhere shares go, based on Compass's trading what's called VWAP, but I'm not going to go into all that. What that basically means is that they're taking where Compass was at the moment, you multiply it times 1.436, and that's what they're doing things off of, okay? And whether at the time of the sale it's there or not, that's not a deal breaker. There are some things that are absolute deal breakers, but that's just kind of an estimate of where it's at that time, okay? I'm not going to get into all the EBITDA and all that kind of stuff because that's going to confuse the crap out of all of you. So I'm ignoring all of that because, again, most of you are going to hear that and it means absolutely nothing to you, okay? The important stuff is that Compass is assuming $2.1 billion of Anywhere's senior notes, okay? That means debt. And so that's why you saw today Anywhere's stock, HOUS, skyrocket, and you saw Compass's come down. It's not because the long-term valuation on Compass is not great. If this all happens, it will be. It's because they looked at it and they're taking on its risk. So people look at that stock and they go, oh my God, like that's a lot of debt that they're taking on. But Compass put a plan in place to eliminate that debt and do other things, which again, I'm not going to bore all of you with that, but that's part of what they're doing as part of this deal, okay? The transaction is not expected to close until the second half of 2026, okay? Subject to shareholder and regulatory approvals, other customary closing conditions, all these types of things. And again, whether that happens, doesn't happen, if they don't meet these guidelines by that time frame, the deal could either fall apart, they could renegotiate, they could ask for more time, but right now the plan is for it to close second half of 2026 and operations to run as usual for now. So if you're in one of those companies, just know for now, operations run as usual. And if you listen to Compass, they're saying that they want to allow these brands to continue to operate as they operate, with the exception of trying to upgrade them as far as technology and synergies and other things they can do. But they're looking at it more as a portfolio play, okay? But it's a huge portfolio play because think about this for a second. Them all coming together and what's in this slide deck that they used to get this approved was that when this happens, they're going to have upwards of just over 340,000 real estate professionals, which doubles the size of number 2. Okay, like that is massive, okay? And what that does is a lot of things. It creates a lot of cost synergies. It gets them better deals. It diversifies them. It brings in different recurring revenue streams. It in their mind, it makes the industry better because they empower more real estate professionals with technology that's going to improve the lives and the experience of the consumer. There's all these different things that they go through that I'm not going to go in here. Because again, I don't think it's relevant to you, but they say why it's good for agents, why it's good for brokers, why it's good for shareholders, why it's good for, all of these people. They talk about, the synergies of these ancillary services. Compass didn't really have much of a relocation company, right? And now they're going to have Cardis, which is a big one, which is done through Anywhere. And so that's a very big thing. That's a revenue play, especially when you start to talk about the number of agents. When you talk about that number of agents, it's a big referral back and forth play. Like there's a lot of that's going on. When you look at Compass puts in here that they've put over $1.8 billion in the past decade into technology, and now they can serve more agents with that. They're able to create end-to-end services. That's a direct play, direct competition to Zillow Super App, Rocket Redfin, and other ones that aren't as well known that are also doing, the exact same thing. All of this is a play for the future because they feel like in order to compete with the outside forces that are trying to eliminate agents, these are the types of things that they need to do. They now cover all 50 states. When I say now, I mean if the sale goes through. They now cover all 50 states. They now are going to cover over 120 countries, which was a big play. You're talking about international. There's a lot of other things here, again, that I don't want to get into all the details of because it just doesn't make a lot of sense. But there is a large one here, okay? So it says Compass's proprietary end-to-end platform, built with over $1.8 billion in investment, provides the critical foundation of deploying the next generation of agentic AI. And this is the play. This is why you heard me mention at the beginning of this whole thing right now, hey, Friday, we're going to do a training on AI at 2 p.m. Eastern, okay, live, that you all need to be a part of, okay? AI is the future. It's the now. And these companies right now are in a cold war for who's going to have the best AI, who's going to service the client, who's going to service the consumer best with AI. And their point, and it says it on there, is with over 340,000 real estate professionals on the platform, our AI capabilities will be accelerated. And it says there's an opportunity to further empower agents with predictive AI insights and automated tools, saving them time and freeing them to deliver superior outcomes for home sellers and home buyers. Opportunity to further streamline core business functions with AI to drive efficiency, create long-term operating improvements for the combined company. Basically, let me just break this down to make it really simple. What they're basically saying is, by pure scale, the scale of having 340,000 plus agents, it gives us the ability, it gives us the platform, it gives us the voice, it gives us everything we need to scale out the AI platforms we've been spending billions of dollars on at a better level than anyone else. Okay, that's really what they're saying at the end of the day, and they're not wrong, guys. A company having 350,000 agents and growing, I don't think they're done. You know, I'll say it again. That Berkshire Hathaway deal, guys, you can be told by your leaders all you want. It didn't happen. It happened. It was happening. It absolutely was happening, okay? And so I don't think they're done. I think there's more consolidation coming. I think there's more things that are going to happen. And the only question is, like I said in the beginning, not all change is good, not all change is bad, but all change is opportunity. And the perspective that everybody listening right now, whether you are a part of Anywhere, whether you're a part of Compass, whether you're a part of somewhere outside, is you need to be looking at this and saying, what's the opportunity? But man, does this give a company leverage. I'll tell you right now, because 340,000 agents, that's a lot of agents, guys. Like that is insane, the amount of agents that one company with that kind of power to be able to go to any kind of anything is amazing. Okay, so let's talk about what this means, and then I'll kind of get into a little bit of the Q&A. As not surprising, when I looked this morning, Zillow's stock is down, and guys, Zillow's had a tough week, which I know makes a lot of you happy. But the question's why. I think you know right now that Zillow and Compass are in a lawsuit, and you know they have this whole thing where Zillow is trying to use their platform to say that if you do not follow our rules, then you will not be on our platform. Now, I think it's only fair and obvious to also say that Zillow's very hypocritical, because they say that to Compass, but then they allow for sale by owners who also don't follow their rules. They allow builders who also don't follow their rules. So what you have is a big pissing contest right now. And they did that, and then all of a sudden, you got into a contest with a company who basically just 500-600% X'd and is going to dominate a lot of the marketplace as far as number of agents. And, you know, I feel like they were handling a company with their platform in a way that it was a smaller company than what they are now. And, you know, they might have screwed themselves a little bit, because dealing with a company with 50, 60,000 agents, 40, 50 is a lot different than dealing with a company with 350,000. That's a big thing. Zillow also got hit last week, if you guys weren't paying attention, from the Moeller firm, one of the same companies that was the original company that filed the lawsuit in the antitrust case in real estate. They now filed a major case against Zillow last week, and I think it's a winnable case. And what they basically said was that when you look at these Zillow Flex cases and you have situations where buyers are going on their site, filling out to talk to an agent, they don't know they're not talking to the listing agent, then they are assigned a Zillow Flex agent, they don't know that Zillow Flex agent is paying upwards of 40%, and because it's not disclosed, they filed a lawsuit saying that is artificially inflating commission rates, because that agent now has to make up for the 40% that buyer doesn't know that agent's paying back to Zillow. Hey guys, I want to talk to you about an amazing real estate tool right now called Mosaik. If you want to take your people off of the portals where they're all hanging out and whatever and into your ecosystem, this is the tool that does that. This is a beginning to end, not a CR, it's not another CRM, it doesn't replace that, but it's a beginning to end system that really looks at the lifetime value of your client and looks at every part of that process and takes care of all of it in a way that's completely transparent. So yes, they've got search, they've got transaction coordination, they've got, even for us, when we do things like we teach our students the Core 100, they've got the ability to put those people in there, track what's happening, do all of that in an amazing way. But probably the thing that I love about this more than anything is the transparency. In an industry that keeps talking about transparency, and usually when you hear something over and over again, it means that it's not being done at all. This is actually a transparent tool. This is the first tool that I've seen that actually brings the consumer into the transaction. And I think that is the next level of where we are going within this industry. You hear from so many buyers and sellers that, oh, my agent didn't do anything, or I feel like they're not. There's not this communication going on. This is the first tool I've seen, almost like the early days of .loop where you had that collaboration, but it was just for the document and the signature. They can do that with the transaction now. Not only with the clients, but with the vendors, whoever it is, in an amazing way where they can see every step of what's going on. You can write notes to them back and forth. They can see every part of the paperwork and everything and the way that you decide to show it. It's really the next level of what we need to be doing from a consumer experience perspective so they know what's happening, and more importantly, we drive that lifetime value back to you. So if you haven't yet, guys, this is a tool you're going to hear over and over again. You're going to hear me talk about it because, I really think it's my role to not just, define what the problems or solutions are, but provide the tools that will actually get you there. And while so many tools right now are just check the box and just say you have them, this is one yourself, your team, your brokerage. If you're not on it yet, you need to be. This is not the last you're going to hear about this. They're going to grow astronomically, and this is something you need to get on board with if you're going to operate. If you're going to be one of those people that really overcomes and is that top producer in your area, you've got to have the right tools in place, and Mosaik is one of those right now. So do yourself a favor, go check out mosaik.io, mosaik.io. Again, mosaik.io. You won't regret it, guys. Send us questions if you do, but this is one of those ones that you're going to look back on and remember, amazing tool. That is a very winnable case. There's been other data out, and I don't want to source it. I don't want to say who, and I don't want to say anything else because it's like not released data, and it would give somebody up, so I don't want to do it. But there's been other studies that have done it that have not been released, that upwards of 32 to 40% of all transactions are paying referrals, and that clients don't know about it. And they're saying that's artificially inflating commissions. And so there's some troubles in the waters coming up, okay? If you thought it was over yet, I do not like to be the bearer of bad news, but it is not over yet, okay? And so from a Zillow perspective, though, not only are they dealing with that lawsuit, that they're most likely, we'll see how it goes, but it's a winnable case. But now they found out that they're at war with somebody who was a lot bigger than they thought they were, and who technically, if they were to take all of their agents and say, screw Zillow, we're going to do our own thing, that's the dominant player. Like that is astronomically important, okay? Okay. This was also not good for NAR and the MLSs. So if you haven't noticed, Compass and such, I had Rory on my podcast. I'm probably going to do another thing with them, post this, if you guys want to see that, and let's talk about what this means. And I would love to hear from you guys, actually, if you just want to comment below. And for any of our people on the podcast, just know I'm doing this live too. So you want me to now do another call with the leadership over at Compass and say, hey, what's this mean? What's that mean? What's that mean? If so, just comment yes. If that's something you guys want, I'll do it. But I don't think it's out of turn to say that that they have some disagreements with NAR. They have some disagreements with the rules from NAR. They have some disagreements. And there's some fighting back and forth that's going on there. And what do you do when now the company that you had this with, NAR, gets into this thing with Compass, and now Compass becomes your largest membership, by double of any other company in the industry, and they now take all of those brands and they go, hey, guess what? You don't need to be a part of NAR. We're good. And now the largest player in the industry starts going, we don't need you. We're good. It's one thing when there's a small conglomerate, but now that one starts doing that, that's an issue. When you have a company like Compass that has, does not agree with the rules of the MLS and does not agree with any of these things and has actual lawsuits out with these places, and now they're the big player, And they're the ones that are going to drive the market moving forward. Don't forget, Ryan Schneider, the CEO of Anywhere, was on record saying that, he basically did not believe in this whole pre-market thing and didn't think it was great for consumers. And Anywhere was also a company that said, we're going to keep doing broker-to-broker comp. We're going to keep doing this stuff. And then as early as last month, Ryan was in an interview, said that, while he may not be a big fan of it, they're prepared to turn it on should the industry go that way. If they decide to go the pre-market way and that has to be an option, we're ready to turn it on. Like, we're ready for that to happen. And now, obviously, getting purchased by Compass, that's a big thing, And regardless of your opinion on pre-market or what that looks like, or marketing pre-public marketing and, all of that stuff, it's not going to matter much going forward. If the company in the industry that is double the size of the second place company says this is what we're doing, everyone in the industry is going to have to adapt to that and have an option for it. Whether you agree with it or not, you're going to have an option for it in order to compete, right? I run a company that does pre-market listings and these things. They do it in a compliant manner, but it just as easily could do it in the way that Compass likes to do it, just by doing however you want, just not following the rules if you wanted to. I run a company called First Up. I think I have it right here, FYRSTUP. We've already had people reach out because, about buying the platform, because it's like, it's every company now, whether you're a large broker, whether you're a brand, whether you have to immediately now have a pre-market option. Not build it in 6 months, have it in a year, have it in a year and a half. And so you're going to see more acquisitions of companies like that already offer pre-market so that these brokers, so that these brands, so that these places can go to their agents and say, regardless of our thesis, what we believe, what we think, we are going to prepare you. We're going to give you what you need to compete in the marketplace, because you can't enter a marketplace where the dominant figure, and it's not even close, is giving options to sellers that you can't match. That's automatically having a disadvantage. So whether you agree with it or not, you have to have the option. You have to at least be able to say, we have it. And then you can make the determination of whether you think it's good, bad, and different. You can talk the seller through that and let them make a decision. But to walk in and badmouth it, but you don't even have the option, you're going to look like you're saying that because you don't have the option. And so moving forward, what this says is that whole pre-market argument, pre-market listing, average, like all whatever, that argument's like going to be over, okay? And everyone's going to have an option. And I've talked to guys, by the way, the CEOs of the major brands who don't agree, whatever, but they're all ready to turn on an option if they have to. Because ultimately it's about their consumer and it's about empowering their agents. As they're doing what's right, they have to compete. And sometimes, that doesn't necessarily line up with way in your mind you think everything should be, okay? But you have to empower your agents. You have to empower your agents to be able to win. And so you're not only going to see, acquisitions and such of brokers and these big brands and those types of things, but you're going to see acquisitions of pre-market companies and such, because everybody has to have an option, and they have to have an option now. Like there's a lot of companies right now that I know are in... they're actually in the middle right now building stuff and trying to figure it out and whatever. You don't have 6 months. Like 6 months is the amount of time that these types of companies are going to go and recruit your agents away and say, what do you mean they don't have it? So they're behind the times? Like they don't, even if they have it in 6 months, so they just didn't have the foresight, like they didn't, whatever. And so that is where you are going to see these types of things going, okay? And so it's a new day, guys, like it really is. And again, I'm going to repeat for anybody who wasn't on here in the beginning, I just want to be so clear about this. Like, we need to stop the tribal stuff. You can believe something is good for a consumer. You can believe that something's good for yourself. You can believe something is good for the industry. You can believe something is good without demonizing every other side. That's just not necessary. And some of you, like when I did the interview, for example, with Rory from Compass, you're like, why didn't you jump on him more? Why didn't you do... Because I believe in letting people actually speak and say what it is they think. And I agreed with some and I disagreed with other, and I'm okay with that. It's an insecure person who cannot have disagreement, okay? I like the idea of disagreement. Innovation doesn't happen without disagreement. Think about that. Like, if all we ever do is stay in our echo chambers and say the exact same things and believe in the exact same things, and there's no room for anything else, innovation never happens. But innovation is dirty, innovation is loud, innovation is difficult, innovation is great. It's all of those things, and not all of it makes it through. But in order for the small amount that does, you have to have disagreement. And so as an industry, like, I implore you guys, like, guys, stop the whole this company, that company, like hearing who it's just like in the real world. Yeah, I'm a Republican, they're a Democrat. Well, I hate them. I'm a Democrat, I'm a Republican. Oh, I hate them. We hear these things. I'm at this company, they're at that company. Well, they're terrible. Now, most people are great, guys. I'm going to be honest with you. I travel all over this country and many others to all the brands and companies all over the world. You know what I find? Yeah, there's some people I don't like. Most people are great, regardless of where they're at, okay? And all we're doing is stressing ourselves out. And so are there major changes coming in our industry? Yeah. Yeah, there's some major changes coming in our industry. And I've been telling you that for a while. It's not over, okay? Ultimately, we want that change to be driven by the consumer. Believe me, guys, I hear it from every side. I get stalkers and people who go crazy, and I get messages, and I get, whatever. I want what's best for the consumer. And you know what the crazy thing is? And I think what every single one of us needs to do sometimes you just need to stop and you need to realize in your life how often you've been wrong. Think about that. Because a person who will stop and realize how often they've been wrong is a person who will lead with real humility. And it doesn't mean you don't have courage of your convictions or any of those things, but it leaves it open to the idea that I could be wrong, and just because you disagree doesn't make you terrible. Like, that's okay, okay? And so I think that's a message right now that a lot of you need to hear, because when this whole thing broke, the number of messages that I got from you guys, from some of you, just demonizing the other side on both sides, that crap's got to stop, okay? There's going to be changes. And the only question is going to be who pivots and stays ahead of them. And that's a message I've been telling you all along, okay? We have to care less about protecting the past than we do about preserving the future, okay? If you don't care less about protecting the past than you do preserving the future, many of you are not going to be here, okay? Now, I love so many of you, and I think that you being a part of the transaction is an amazing thing, and I think that you guys help a lot of people, and I think that you have gotten a bad rap over the last couple of years, and I think that our industry has been demonized, and yet someone who's actually in our industry, we got a lot of great people who do amazing work and work their tails off and wake up every day without knowing if they're going to get a paycheck and do it like amazing. You guys are amazing. But don't stick your feet in the stand right now. You need to be thinking about what's coming and how do we pivot and how do we stay ahead of it and how do we do what's best for our consumer, and just understand that there are changes coming and there are more than the ones you've already seen coming, okay? And as I get to Q&A here, guys, I'm going to say one more time, like this Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, I'm going to do a training on AI. You want to talk about change? That's change, okay? And it's here, okay? So if you know you need to get better at that, and you know that it's more than just 2 letters and it's not just an advanced search engine, then get your colleagues, get your offices this Friday, September 26th, I think, 2 p.m. Eastern. We'll put out an announcement this week, but I'm telling you guys now, on the platform you're watching on now, Friday, September 26th, 2 p.m. Eastern, I'm going to go live with that, okay? Now, with that being said, are there any specific questions? I'm going to answer a few questions from you guys. I'm not going to say terrible things about, either place, because you need to understand, like, again, there are great people at all places, okay? And I feel like I'm running for office right now. Like, I'm a uniter, not a divider. But it really is true, though. Like, there's great people everywhere, guys, And ultimately, the greatest people I wanna really work for right now is you guys, but the consumer. What's best for them. But this is going to be a shift in our industry, and it does shift power. And there's going to be changes that some of you agree with and some of you don't. But at the end of the day, it's not going to matter. You better adjust. Or you can spend 5 months screaming in the corner and complaining. You won't win. How often have I said that, competition disruption, it either eliminates you or it makes you better. It eliminates you or it makes you better. Don't be on the side of being eliminated, okay? This episode is brought to you by Jared James Academy. Guys, I want to say thank you for all of you that watch and listen to our podcast. You may not be aware of this, but we literally coach and train tens of thousands of people, and you can be in our academy for as little as $99 a month. There's other options beyond that, obviously one-on-one coaching and all of those things, but for as little as $99 a month, you can be in our academy, which means that you have access to our app, Jared James Academy, or you can access it on your desktop. You have access to all of our courses that are on there that literally would sell for $1,000 a piece anyway, but they're all on there for you. And I personally go live with everybody on our academy 2 to 3 times a month, teaching stuff that I don't teach on Instagram or I don't teach on any of these other places. You know, to give an example, we just did a whole thing on AI. We did a whole thing on getting listings. We're about to do a whole thing about getting your emails opened. What does it look like? Internet service providers, all of this stuff. You know, part of operating in this market and being one of those few that's going to do really well and be the best in your market is staying ahead of your consumer. It's staying accountable. It's staying coached and trained. And we do that. We do it at extremely affordable cost. So if you love the things that I talk about on a regular basis and you want to take it to the next level, just go to jaredjamestoday.com/academy. And again, for as little as $99 a month, you can be in there with us, learning from me on a deeper level, learning from our courses, hearing from our coaches, all of these things. Or you can go even further and become one of our students with a one-on-one coach, and then you still have access to our academy. So go check it out. I hope you will. It's something that I think you'll find out has been missing from your business. All right, let me see what I got here, guys. What does it mean for small mom and pa brokerages? You know what's funny? That's actually a great question. I think that there is an absolute place for people who are just niche. Okay, you're going to have your majors that are going to happen, no doubt about it. And they're going to be dominant. They're going to be, but they're, you know, we talked about this at the advance. There is absolutely more than ever a place for niche. People who, you know, don't just everything you say, they do it. Do you do commercial? Yeah. Do you do mobile homes? Yeah. Do you do luxury? Yeah. Do you do first time? Yeah. Like there is going to be a place for niche. There's going to be a place for people who handle luxury. There's going to be a place for people who do new construction. There's going to be a place for, and some of you need to be looking at like, you know, how do I, you know, become niche? How do I, okay? Keith, do you think this will get SEC approval? I don't know if I want to go into that. You know, a lot of people have said that if I were Zillow, I would behind the scenes be pushing and run a full PR campaign to try and, you know, start pushing the idea of monopoly. And I understand that. And I think it's going to happen, by the way. I think there's going to be an absolute push for the idea of monopoly. But then again, if you look at other industries, this has happened. You know, you look at other industries, this is not abnormal for companies to buy up other companies. And as a way of growth, it's through acquisition. And so I say that, but then in my head, I'm also saying that what I think is going to happen and what should happen is not always what happens. And so it doesn't really matter what we think. We got to see, you know, what judge it goes to and who's on the jury and who's, you know, whatever. But yeah, there's a lot of ways that can go. There's some of these questions I see, guy, that, by the way, is that I'm not going to answer because I don't want to get into the heads or speculate on things that either give away something I know behind the scenes that I'm not allowed to say, or just speculation, and I don't want to speculate. And do you think that NAR will change due to this merger? This is not good for NAR. I'll tell you right now. This is not. NAR was already under a lot of fire to prove their value. Look, guys, you know that I kind of say things like there's a lot of things NAR does well, and then just like anything, NAR fights for themselves as well, you know, and is trying to, you know, that place brings in a lot of money, and a lot of the decisions are made off of that. And so I do not think this is good for NAR. I don't think it's good for MLSs. I don't think it's good for a lot of these places. I think that we have now opened ourselves up even more now to a national MLS. You know, I think that Compass next, and again, I did not hear this from them. Guys, if you're listening at Compass, the senior people senior there, whatever, like, you know, I'm not saying you said this, but, you know, they already, you know, when they were on my podcast, they said how a lot of their exclusives, whatever, they keep them right on their site and only their site. And, you know, a lot of people fought back and said, well, nobody's going to Compass for listings, so you really are keeping them just to you. And they were like, well, maybe not now, but in the future. And now, with them being the dominant place, if they're the only place that has that listing, that is a different position. And it does open up the idea that they could either, promote their own site, or they could create their own portal that goes national MLS and says, screw the MLSs. We're tired of their rules. They don't benefit us. They're working out for their own interests. Like, I could see them doing that. They have the right to do that. They could say screw whoever they want, And I think that's kind of their fight with them, is that a lot of these rules, like clear cooperation and such, they're like, this serves you, not us. Like, we don't want this. Like, this is, when you look at them, when you look at places like Zillow and these other places and whatever, and they're going, yeah, these things are benefiting you, not us. Like, these are, you're making money off of our listings. We want to take it back. And so that all is possible. That's all on the table. But yeah, I do see it changing it. How much longer till brokerages stop listening to NAR and NAR becomes irrelevant? Again, not a question for me to ask. I think there's a lot of good that NAR does as well. Like, I can see both sides, and so that's just not something. I'm getting a lot of the same questions here. Would the story be completely different if Anywhere was acquiring Compass? Chris, it's such a good question. If you think I haven't thought about that over and over again, I absolutely have. We have to know what we can control, and one is the brokerage we associate with. Chris, 100%, you all still have choice. You decide where you think your best, the best way that you're going to be able to control your career and serve your clients, and, exactly. I find customers hire the agent, not the brand, no doubt about it, but I will say that as it becomes more competitive and things are moving to, at the advance, we talked about an ecosystem where companies are paying billions of dollars to get on your phone and get in front of you first so that we don't even know about the local agent, whatever. That's becoming less and less true if they don't know it's an option. I call it the app storification of our industry, because many of you don't think of this, but you have apps. There are apps out there that do better jobs than the ones that are on your phone, but because they don't live in the app store, you don't even know about them. And that is a point I'm not going to go into right now, but think about what I just said, because it is very important to understand that principle right there. Christina, as of now, they're saying that Anywhere franchises will continue to operate independently, and they're saying that they're going to continue to operate as normal. Now, there's a whole other set of issues when you have different Compass, brokerages and companies that have, the rights to certain areas, and you can't be within a certain radius of each other. And now Compass buys these other brands that are within that radius, and now they're technically competing. But as of now, they're saying that that they're going to allow them to operate, and that the play for them is the agent count, but then also having that portfolio of different types of companies and what they do, but then empowering them, with the synergy of the tech. So. Yeah. I'm getting a lot of the same kind of questions, guys. Here's what I'm going to do. Yeah, someone said look at the healthcare industry. That is completely correct. Okay. Bolster those agents that can afford those fees, rates. Yeah, there's a whole other discussion around here, guys, about referral fees and not being disclosed. I think that is a major issue, and I think that I don't think that whole announcement of that lawsuit last week got enough attention, and I don't think we're paying enough attention to what it means next, because all of these just open up the next door, And again, there's data that shows that upwards of between 32 to 40% of all transactions in our industry come with a referral fee. And a lot of times those are not disclosed. And so it's a very easy argument. It's an easy way to jump to the next thing, which is, that's artificially inflating because you have to then pay a certain amount. Now, the argument against that, if I was arguing the other side, would be, okay, well, let's compare transactions that had a referral and transactions that didn't have a referral. If they are essentially the same, then it means they're not artificially inflating them. So if I'm Zillow and I was listening, that's probably my argument right there. Like that, because if you can prove that it's not any different when there's no referrals, whether it was disclosed or not, well, then it's not inflating. Like inflating would mean it's more. But I haven't seen that data to be able to prove that or not prove that, okay? So a couple of things here, guys, that I want to make mention of. Number one, because I'm going to do a lot of content around this, okay? Number one, I said this to you guys before, this Friday. For those of you at the advance, very similar session to what we did, because we're heading into our 4 to 6 week course in our academy, where we're just going to become experts on AI. So if you're not in the academy, you need to be in that, okay? But for those of you for free, this Friday I'm going to do one session very similar to the session I did at the Advanced, and I think a lot of you would agree that that was very valuable, and I tried to make it very real world and not over your head. I'm going to do it this Friday on the platform you're watching on, whichever one that is, at 2 p.m. Eastern. This Friday, September 26th, 2 p.m. Eastern. Get your office, your colleagues, everybody. That is going to be a well worthwhile time for you to really understand AI and how to use it, how to show up on it, how to, like, all of that stuff, okay? So get there this Friday. And then beyond that, I'm going to do a ton of content. You know, I know a lot of you are watching on Facebook and these other platforms right now. Make sure you're following on Instagram and otherwise. That's where I put most of my content and such. That's where I answer most of my questions. If you have questions, you can DM me, direct message. Just go to connectwithjared.com. We are now entering another phase, almost like where the lawsuit happened, you know, a year, 2 years ago, whatever it was, where you guys need to stay up to date on what's happening, okay? Because it's a big deal right now, okay? So stay in touch. Guys like me, there's other people who do a great job as well, but if my voice is one that you listen to, I'll be doing a lot of content on this so that you understand, and more importantly, so you can position yourself to stay ahead, to stay relevant, because I believe we are going to have less agents in the future, which I do not think is the worst thing in the world, but we want agents that serve the consumer the best, and the ones who are staying ahead and giving them the experience they want. We are in the economy of convenience. They want a convenient experience, and I'll say it one more time, for your own mental health, this whole tribal thing, okay? Guys, everyone's not terrible. Learn to disagree without getting upset or getting whatever. You know, if you really follow people down a line, you'll see that they're with you, and then they veered off at some point. They just thought about things differently, and that's okay. And we all get stronger by kind of airing those differences and learning from each other and coming into every conversation about a brand, about about the way they're doing this, what's good for sellers, what's good for consumers. Conversation makes that argument better, not worse. When you listen to other people, it strengthens your argument. It allows you to take out the weak stuff and add stuff that works, and kind of like just come up with a better what's it look like moving forward. And that doesn't happen in an echo chamber. Okay, so I can't stress that enough. I'll have people in the future on my podcast that you'll love and you'll agree with, and I'm going to have people on there that you're not in love with and you don't agree with. Okay, and that is completely fine. I am 100% okay with that. Okay, so with that being said, I got to hop off. I got some other things to do here. I'll be looking at my DMs throughout the day for any questions you guys have. I'll be putting up other content and trying to really get into it. I'll be doing other podcasts. If you're not subscribed, Today with Jared James, this will be up on our podcast soon. I'll be doing other podcasts where we get in detail. We need to know what's going on, okay? To all of you who are at the Advanced, thank you so much. I wish I got a day off here. I might have like no voice and whatever, but the industry keeps moving, guys. There's stuff happening. So it is not a reason to get sad. It's a reason to rejoice. The industry moving. All change is an opportunity for growth. It's an opportunity whenever there's change, okay? So rather than look at it and get upset about what's happening, it's an opportunity for growth, okay? If you're watching this, please go ahead and share it. If you enjoyed it, let me know in the comments. I'll check it out later. But share this, guys. Get it out to your colleagues. Get it out. We as an industry need to get better. We need to do better. We need to give consumers the experience that they want, which means we need to listen to them, okay? So thank you all so much. With that, I'm going to run. I'll see you all soon.